Welcome to an episode of the Myrrh-Bearing Millennial Podcast. I'm your host, Jill, and as a full-time homemaker, homesteader, and homeschooling stay-at-home mom, I'm on a mission to help moms find joy and fulfillment in their marriage, motherhood, and business, all while growing deeper in their Christian faith. Each week, we'll discuss relevant topics that I pray will help you strengthen your marriage, gain confidence as a mom, grow a profit to support your family from home, and bring you closer to Christ. As someone who endured childhood trauma, abusive relationships, and has learned the hard way that feminism has been harming women and weakening the family unit more than it's been doing good, I'm here to share with you what's possible, to show you the power that God intended for women, and to help you harness the beauty, grace, and entrepreneurial mind that is the Proverbs 31 woman we all strive to be. So let's get into today's episode. Hey guys, welcome to another episode of the Myrrh-Bearing Millennial Podcast. Today I'm talking about building a marriage that thrives in a world that works against it. So interestingly enough, at the time of this episode, we are getting pretty close to mine and my husband's 7th anniversary of being married. And it's been amazing. We've had trials, we've had fights and arguments, we've gone through all the ups and downs like everyone does. We've had health emergencies and crises, we've lost family members. There's a lot that we've learned in the last 7 years. But if there is one thing I can honestly say about my husband and I, is that through all of it, I have never once been worried about our marriage. I firmly believe God placed RJ in my life to save me from a lot of things. And we balance each other out really, really well. We have open and honest conversations. There's literally nothing that we keep from each other. I feel like honestly half the time he knows me better than I know myself. And through everything, through financial struggles, through losing my brother, through family drama, PFA I had against my mom, brain injury I got from a car accident, like there's a lot. I've never worried about our marriage. Our marriage has always remained strong and united. And even when we were fighting towards growth in our marriage, not towards who would win. And so in today's world, marriage is not honored as much as it used to be. 50% of marriages end in divorce, and that's crazy to me. People go into a marriage, I feel like sometimes still thinking they're just dating and divorces have been made a little bit easier, so they can just leave whenever they want just because it got hard, instead of really working through the trials. And I'm not speaking for every divorce or anything like that. It's not black and white. There's definitely some scenarios like abuse and stuff where that can be warranted. I feel like divorces are made way too accessible and easy. And that's why we see 50% of marriages ending in divorce. We don't take it as seriously as we used to. The sanctity of marriage is sometimes joked about and not honored. And it's like unfathomable that a wife would follow her husband as the leader of the family. Okay. So what I want to talk about are the 4 pieces of advice that I can give you about how to build a thriving marriage in today's world that doesn't honor the sanctity of marriage anymore, after having been married for 7 years and together with my husband a total of 10 years. So let's dive in. Okay, the first is let him lead. This is so difficult. This is honestly not even thought of anymore in today's society. It's so much about equal partnership and you are the same and blah, 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 blah. No, let him lead. God created men to lead for a reason. I'm not saying a woman can't lead. I'm saying let him lead your family. Okay? And I'm also not saying that you are inferior to him. We're equal in different ways. It's beautiful the way God made us to work together with our differences. Okay? Men are natural born leaders. And there are women who are phenomenal leaders too, right? Let him lead your family is what I'm saying. Okay, if he's loving you the way that Christ loves the church, he's genuinely only looking out for the welfare and the better of your family, let him lead your family. Trust him. That can be so difficult to do, but you have to be able to have that trust in a marriage. Okay, if I didn't let my husband lead us and I didn't trust him, we wouldn't have converted to Orthodoxy, which was the best decision we ever made as a family, was doing that. There's a lot of things that wouldn't have happened if I wouldn't have let my husband lead. And I know without a doubt that every decision that he makes has been thoroughly thought through, prayed over, and is truly made for the betterment of our family. And I trust him for that. So when it comes down to really hard decisions, we will have conversations. It's not that I don't get a say. We have in-depth conversations, but I will usually end it with, I trust you. A prime example recently is we were most likely moving to a new house. We were going to be renting a house closer to a piece of property, and while still like intermittent with, we're like in this in between with our forever home. And we were debating on if we were going to rent this other house or stay where we currently are. And for a very like short period of time, but it was an intense 2 days, was fully convinced we were moving. And it came down to my husband had a conversation with his dad and like reran some numbers and all this stuff. And he calls me and goes, these are the facts. This is what our budget would look like and all this. He said, I think we should stay put where we are for these reasons. He didn't say we will stay put. He didn't like make the determining factor. He said, I think we should stay put. My response to him, okay, I trust you. I trust you to lead our family. I trust you in making this decision. I will follow you. Let's stay put where we are. And the amount of peace that just rushed over me when that happened, like I can't even fully describe it, but there was just a wave of relief knowing that like we were okay and we were going to be stable for another year or so. And he was making the best decision possible for our family to help our future. Okay, let him lead. Second, choose to listen when the other one truly has something to say. Okay, when one of you starts talking, mute the TV and look at the other person and listen. When one of you is feeling a certain way, you need to listen to them. Even if you don't fully agree with the situation or what it is they're saying, listen to what they're feeling and say it with calm tone. And I'm preaching to the choir here because there have been times where I have a terrible attitude. I do. My husband puts up with a lot when it comes to me. I will be completely honest. But then eventually we come back and and it's calm. And we really listen to each other and what we're feeling in those moments. So we hear each other and we say, okay, we've heard each other out. Now, how do we come together and move forward with this? Okay. Honor what your spouse has to say. Honor what your husband has to say, what he's feeling, and listen to him and tune into that and respect it. And then discuss it. Okay. Listening, I promise you, will keep intimacy high. It will keep trust very strong and deeply rooted within your relationship if you truly listen to each other. Number 3, this one's an interesting take and can get a little spicy, so hear me out. Number 3 is about intimacy. Yes, I'm about to talk about your sex life with your husband. Okay? Big fan over here. Just putting that out there. Sex is a wonderful, beautiful thing between husband and wife. Like it truly is. It is one of God's greatest pleasures that he made for a husband and wife. Okay? 2 tips whenever it comes to intimacy. First, cycle sync. Okay? Cycle sync for successful intimacy. Now, what do I mean by this? If you don't know what cycle syncing is, it's whenever you take the natural flow of your hormones and you sync it to an area of your life. I had my last podcast episode talked about syncing your cycle to your business. Now I'm going to talk about syncing your cycle to intimacy. Okay. You have different fluctuations of your hormones. Men don't. They just run on constant testosterone all the time. But you can have an open conversation with your husband about your cycle. This is something my husband and I do. There's actually been a cycle calendar out there that I've seen going around where like it talks about where your cycle is, so your husband can go and check it. It's for the husband to know like, can he smack your butt this week or not, depending on your hormones, essentially is what it comes out to. And it's wonderful and glorious. Honestly, cycle syncing your hormones to your sex life with your husband will make a huge difference. I'm not even kidding. When you're on your menstrual cycle, you're probably not wanting to do anything, and your husband should probably just respect that. Like, let you veg out and hibernate during that time when you're bleeding, okay? But then your follicular phase is kind of like spring. You're getting all excited, and then you go to an ovulation, which is when you feel the best. It's also when you're at the highest chance of getting pregnant, okay? But you feel your absolute best, and you want to be intimate and do all the fun things with your husband. And then your luteal phase, which is whenever you're coming down, it's kind of like fall, you're getting a little cozy and calming down. Like cycle sync to your intimacy with your husband. Know when things can get a little more exciting, you can be a little more adventurous. Your husband can kind of plan on a few risky nights together, like back to back. without a break in between. You're going to be more playful, more flirtatious, versus like your luteal cycle when you're kind of calming down, and it might need a little more foreplay, a little more romance, to kind of get you to get in the mood. Okay. He might have to do a little more work. Okay. Cycle sync it and talk about that with your husband, because I promise it will help. It will help because you can still be intimate with your husband. But with that being said, okay, intimacy within a marriage also leads to less temptation in sinful desires. Okay, when your sex life is better, whoever struggles with it, if anyone in your relationship struggles with it, might be less tempted towards pornography or masturbation, stuff like that. When your sex life with your husband is really great, will be less tempted to other areas. Okay, so this is a good thing. If you are truly working on a better sex life with your husband, this can help you both with less temptations. Okay, it helps. Sex is a beautiful thing in marriage. I don't know why Christians get so weird about talking about it. Like, it's a blessing from God that husbands and wife get to do that. Okay, just saying. I don't think anyone's ever heard me actually fully talk about that. So there's my take on it. Big fan over here. All right, my fourth tip for building a strong marriage in a world that doesn't even honor the sanctity of marriage anymore is put your faith first. The number one thing that will make the biggest difference in your marriage over anything else is your faith. If there's a divide in your faith, if you're attending different churches, this will cause a rift in your marriage. If you are together and you are united in your faith, this will help create a strong foundation in your marriage and a stronger foundation for your family. If you're praying together, you're always working together to become better. My husband and I keep track of, like, we help, hey, when's the last time you went to confession? Stuff like that. We pray together with our kids, without our kids. My husband leads us in prayer. He anoints our heads. I pray with our kids whenever he's traveling. We talk about ways that we would like to contribute more in the church and grow. Stay united in your faith, okay? When you both stay centered on Christ, your marriage will thrive no matter what else is going on, no matter financial strains, no matter family dramas or anything like that. When you and your husband stay united on Christ and you keep your eyes centered on Christ for your family, you will have a strong marriage. Okay? I promise. Okay? All right. I hope that this episode brought some blessings, maybe a little interesting curiosity on certain topics. But I hope you had fun listening to today's episode. If you have questions, always feel free to comment below, or you can email me at jillhughes@myrrh-bearingmillennial.com, and I will either answer them directly to your email or on Instagram or in the Q&A episode at the end of the month. So, which is next week after this episode. So thanks guys for tuning in today, and we'll chat again soon. God bless. Thanks for listening to today's episode. If you loved what you heard today, please give the show a rating, share it to your Instagram, and be sure to tag me. This will help the show reach more moms just like you. If you're curious about any of my resources, be sure to click the link in the show notes and feel free to email me at jillhughes@myrrh-bearingmillennial.com. That's all for now, and we'll chat again soon. God bless.